Hello, everybody. How are we doing this evening? It's Wednesday, August the 20th? God almighty. As time flies as you get older. The older you get, that's that time dilation thing. It'll get you. Weeks turn into days, and years turn into months, and years turn into weeks. It's all rolls together into one thing. But they say to defeat time dilation, the thing you should do is experience new things. And I guess I am always experiencing new things as I am researching Cooper, although it is like Groundhog Day sometimes. Everybody's got a coincidence. Oh, this can't be a coincidence. Well, it is a coincidence. Anyway, hello, everybody. Hello to BBG in Cornwall. Hope you're doing all right. Hello to Big Ed. You're being rude. Hey, Nicole. Dr. Cater's in the house. Hello, Doc. And you're coming from Boulder, Colorado. I thought you lived in Missouri. Did you move to Colorado, Doc? All right. Hey, Jay. Hey, Black Wingy. Black Wingy makes me think of Yellow Submarine, the blue meanies. There's the blue meanie. All right. Tina Mucklow. Hello, Ryan. I've missed you. Yes, I've missed you too, darling. My sweet, sweet Tina. Yes, hit the like button, for God's sake. Hit the like button. Yeah, it's. You moved to Colorado, Dr. John says. Okay, well. Anyway, hello to Super Stymie. Packer Jack. Packer Jack just had some eyeball surgery. He's not a pirate. He doesn't need an eye patch. Ah, yes. Packer Jack can see now. Yes. Hey, Terry Lee, how you doing, buddy? Tina, I'm wearing that cute outfit you like, the latex stewardess dress. That's what Tina says. Okay, well, yes, of course. Ah, the Cody Show. Hello. Anyway, hello, folks. So, CooperCon is what? August, like 3 months away or something like that. Gosh, goes fast. So please come to CooperCon. If you've not come to CooperCon, just do it. It's fun. I mean, you get to meet lots of people. Bill Mitchell will be there. Larry Carr's just coming for the weekend to hang out. Other possible surprise guests. Hello, Dana, from Ohio. Possibly other surprise guests. Mac will be there. So come meet a real DB Cooper. He does not bite. He will probably buy you a drink, actually. Mac refuses, by the way. He's a man of integrity. Whenever we try to comp Mac for flying anywhere or doing anything, he refuses. I pay for my own way, damn it. That's what he'll say. I hope Mac joins us. Dang, I should have mentioned to Mac ahead of time. Usually I have to mention to him that we're doing our live show. Maybe I should send him a text and say, hey, if you see this, hop in the live chat. Yeah, actually, I'm going to do that. Let me send a text to my favorite hijacker and see if he shows up. Let's see. Anyway, yes. So hopefully Mac will show up. Did Mac use Benzedrine in his jump? Actually, Mac did have amphetamines. I did ask him that, and he did have. Dana's coming. Wonderful, Dana. Yay! But Mac did. Still boom. Hello. Mac did have amphetamines. He cannot remember what he had though. I asked him, and he wasn't sure. He couldn't remember what he had. But yes, he did have amphetamines. We know that Heinemann had amphetamines, and obviously Cooper did. And yeah, so that's not surprising that, I mean, you would need some stimulants to stay awake. These hijackings did take hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. They were not quick affairs generally. All right. Somebody asked me, I'll be there unless I chicken out. Why would you chicken out, Black Wingy? It's a Black Wingy. Okay, good question there. All right, so Z124 Mary says, question about the video you made a year ago called Did DB Cooper Strike Again? You showed a sketch of someone who looked like Cooper. Do you actually think it was Cooper trying again? Probably not, but they never caught the guy. I mean, that's interesting. It is interesting, though. I mean, they had a suspect in mind, though, apparently, because Norjack, remember, Norjack is I'm not a grammar person. I don't know. It's something that's kind of smushed together for Northwest hijacking. Saljack was the name that the FBI gave to McCoy's copycat hijacking for Salt Lake City hijack. The TWA bomber, though, I came across that code name was TWA BOM, so TWA bomb. And there is a 302 where it says that they showed Tina Mucklow a photograph of the TWA bomb suspect, and she said it wasn't Cooper. But again, I don't know of any suspect. I don't. The suspect, nothing ever came of it with the bomber because he was never. That story never had a resolution. So a guy did blow the side off 2 airplanes, or 1 airplane. That's right, blew up 1 airplane, and was never caught. So could be Cooper. I mean, the sketch really does look like Cooper. I don't know if I have that for people who've not seen that, but I mean, damn, a guy really does look a lot like Cooper, I would say. Let's see if I've got that somewhere. Where is that? I think I would only be able to find the. I don't have it. Oh, there it is. It's just a title card. All I have is the title card for the YouTube thumbnail, but it'll work. Yeah, see there? I mean, look at that. Not a bad resemblance now, is it? Has the thick lower lip, skinny little nose. Head shape is precisely the same, right? And they said that the guy somehow knew his way around airplanes, right? Because, I mean, the guy's literally snuck 4 real bombs onto airplanes without anyone noticing. So possibly Cooper. I doubt it, but, you know, neither of these guys were caught. So could have been. All right. If legendary pro blackjack player Eric Eulis finds the parachute with his upcoming search around the Tina Bar area, after 50 years of Pacific Northwest weather, would there still be viable prints or DNA? I'm not a DNA expert. I don't know, but probably not. I know that when we were discussing getting DNA from the parachute shroud lines with Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick, who is the world's leading forensic genealogist DNA person, right? I mean, she actually solved the Somerton Man. She solved the Boy in the Box, and she came to CooperCon last year, and her take was that the shroud lines have been touched too frequently and not kept good enough in good enough condition to have any viable DNA, probably. Remember, there's that photograph of Larry holding a box that contains everything. I mean, one box contained the parachute container, the ticket, the tie. So, yeah. Still feeling good about the to be announced new suspect. Yeah. He's as good as you can get. All right. So hopefully, like I said, I believe the family is coming, and I think that reveal will cause some gasps in the room. He is probably the only suspect who's ever given me the willies when I looked at him. I was like, okay, that checks out. Anyway, all right. Somebody says we all did in the 70s. I'm out taking amphetamines. Yeah, I guess so. Well, nothing has changed, Dr. John. I think most people take amphetamines today as well. It's just called Adderall. Benzedrine is the Adderall of its time. A lady can't buy Mac a drink. He probably won't let you. Like I said, he is very hardcore about not doing stuff like that. He just won't let you. All right. Yeah, Packer Jack says, highly doubtful on the DNA unless he bled and the blood dried and was somehow preserved. Yeah, I agree. I'd look fly with a full handlebar mustache, says Jack. Would I? I guess I could be a Civil War general with a handlebar mustache. General Burnside. All right. Somebody asked questions, and I don't know where they went, and I'm kind of upset about it. Somebody asked questions. Maybe it's in the YouTube. Must be in the actual page there, but it's not showing up on my stream comments. Let me go see if it is there in the page for it. Let's see. Where is it? No. Oh, that's so strange. I can't. I guess when we're live, we can't see comments people posted earlier, because somebody posted some actual questions for me, and I don't see them. So that is sad. Anyway, back to it, folks. Okay. I believe Cooper fought in war. Well, yeah, probably. Or maybe didn't fight, but he served in some capacity. 3 out of the 5 copycats fought in a war. No, actually, I mean, 4 out of 5, saw combat, presumably. You're forgetting Heinemann was a radio operator on a B-17 or a B-24. I'm not totally sure, but I've seen varying statements on that. But he was definitely on a bomber crew during World War II. I don't know, but he was a radio operator apparently, which the radio operators they had machine guns. They were gunners. And somebody asked earlier how he put on a parachute, but Mac didn't know how to put on one. Well, again, the guys. So when Mac was in aviation, I believe Mac had 1,800 flight hours on a P-2 Neptune, which is a sub-chasing aircraft. They fly around looking for submarines, Soviet submarines, right? But they would wear harnesses, apparently. But they had, I believe what Mac was telling me is that they would have all their chest reserves. They just had the front reserves, chest packs, I guess. It wasn't a reserve to them. It was all they had. But they had them all lined up, he said, like on a rack. And if they needed them, they would just hop on and clip onto their harness. Whereas most of the guys like Heinemann, who were on bomber crews during World War II, wore backpacks. A lot of them did. They would wear either backpacks or they would wear harnesses with the parachutes on them. Usually they're wearing the parachutes because obviously in a war, you don't have time sometimes to put on a parachute. So they were already wearing their parachutes. Heinemann, if Heinemann flew missions, or not even flying missions, he didn't need to fly missions. If he didn't fly missions, he was still trained as an air crew. And in World War II, they wore their parachutes. So that's possibly why Mac didn't know how to put on a parachute. But I don't know. But no, combat veterans, 4 out of 5. Mac didn't see combat, but McCoy was obviously a Vietnam veteran combat. LaPointe was a door gunner, which was a terrible job. Hetty was a paratroop. Hetty was at 101st Airborne in Vietnam and did see combat. A lot of these guys did, but not Mac. I think Mac was the only one, really. So it stands to reason that Cooper did. Look, Cooper is way too chilled out to be like that. Cooper's he's so chilled out. That's a guy who's seen some stuff, I would say. That'd be my guess, is that he's a guy who had seen some action somewhere and wasn't rustled by trying events. That's one reason why people like Braden so much, right? Braden is liked a great deal because of that. Did I find shoes for my Cooper doll? 100%. You bet your butt. In fact, let me grab them. So let's see. Yes, this is Little Coop smoking his cigarette. But Little Coop, I found a little. He's wearing his brown suit. See there, but he's got the brown slip-ons, brown ankle-high booties, which is likely what Cooper was wearing. Not loafers, but slip-on, like ankle-high slip-on shoes is what Tina described him. Possibly with zippers. I think they called them like beetle boots, right? Those little boots that had zippers. So maybe Tina just didn't see the zippers or whatever. But yeah, there you go. Oop. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, Little Coop, you enjoy yourself. Enjoy your smoke. Okay. Anyway. 4 P's equal payoff, okay, says, "Hey Ryan, hi. First time catching you live. My question, anything credible relating to the Ted Braden CIA founder friendship and cover-up? Also, I know you say Ted is too short, but lifts elevator shoes." I mean, there was some discussion on Reddit today about this, right? That the idea of elevator shoes, I mean, people who are 5'8" or even smaller, their proportions are different than tall people, right? Like my arms are longer than Nikki Broughton, who's 5'6" or whatever, or Darren Schaefer, who's 5'7" or whatever he is. Like my arms are longer than his. My legs are longer. Like shoes can only do so much. Wow, thank you for the super chat there. But yeah, it just I don't buy the elevator shoes. I just think that Cooper. I mean, again, I'll get kickback from some people who have short suspects, but you know, every eyewitness, every person who saw Cooper standing, except for one, said he was 6 feet tall or taller. And the one who didn't, Dennis Lisney, said 5'11". He may have said 5'10" to 5'11", but he said 5'11", went up to 5'11", right? So I don't, there's a different, as Black Wing said, there's a different impression of a short man versus somebody who's 6 feet tall. And as I've said a million times, I feel like I am a broken record sometimes, but Tina Mucklow was 5'8", and it says that in her 302. They actually asked Tina, they said, "How tall are you?" Because they wanted to know, and she said 5'8". That's in her FBI 302. It's in her interview. And her first impression was that Cooper was I believe her first interview, she said Cooper 6 feet tall was her impression. Now, take whatever height you are. Okay, I am 6'1", whatever height you are. Try to imagine someone being your height, but you mistake them for being 4 inches taller. Like, it would be literally impossible for me to look at somebody who is 6'5". I'm 6'1", so 4 inches taller than me, and think that they were, and be confused with them actually being my height. Like, run that exercise in your brain, however tall you are. Imagine you thinking someone is 4 inches taller than you, but they're actually your height. Like, this just doesn't work, right? So, Cooper's tall. Now, about the conspiracy, well, yeah, so Jack Singlaub was essentially the founder of the CIA, or one of the founders. And he was one of Ted Braden's few friends. Braden was a real loner. Braden didn't have many friends. Al Tyre was a friend of his. That's the only other friend I know Ted Braden had. Al Tyre and Jack Singlaub. So look, if you're going to have a friend, having a friend who is the head of the CIA is a good it's a good friend to have, right? I'd take that. Was Tina wearing heels? That would make her even taller. Well, actually, the nutcase I did try to find, there is some footage of Tina where you can see, there's a footage of her the day after the hijacking getting out of a van to board the plane, and you can get a good look at her boots. And they don't have a ton of heel on them, surprisingly. Maybe an inch at most, maybe half an inch. It wasn't much. Surprisingly, they were flat. I guess that was Northwest Orient having mercy on their stewardesses by not making them wear high heels. Braden would have been wearing his Cochrane boots. He would have, and those are not David Bowie shoes. Okay, they're not platform shoes. I own a pair of Cochranes myself. The heel on them is not that much bigger than any other heel, pretty much. But that is what makes Braden so intriguing. Is if he was taller, there's all these suspects who were just one or two things away from being Cooper, right? Braden's not tall enough. There's other suspects who, if they had more hair, they'd be better suspects. Things like that. But yeah, Dana says I'm 5'8". I'm 5'8". Never ever been mistaken for 6 foot. Well, you wouldn't be. I mean, come on, let's be real, people. And look, again, Hal Williams, the gate agent. Okay, Hal Williams is the only person who was trained to look for hijackers. There was a news article a week after the hijacking saying that all Northwest Orient gate agents were trained like by the government. They'd gone through the class for how to spot hijackers. So he was a trained individual. Okay. And that is why he remembered Cooper enough, because Cooper stuck out a little bit to him. Cooper, he didn't like his aura, I guess, didn't like his look, but he didn't raise enough of the bullet points to be pulled out of line as a selectee, they called them, for additional screening. Right. But, the gate agent failed for sure. But I guess Cooper was smart enough not to draw any attention. But at any rate, Hal Williams wrote that Cooper, or in his interview, said 6'1" plus. Okay, now, not to sound sexist here or anything, but like, I think men are really good at sizing up other men, especially when they're face to face. I think this goes back to like caveman days, right? I mean, every man is a possible threat, right? So I think men are, and men are into sports too. Think about that, sports. We love football and baseball, always, the 5'11" point guard. Like we understand height. And a male who was trained to look at hijackers came face to face with Cooper, face to face. And hours later, as the plane, he was interviewed as the plane, hijacking was still in progress, Hal Williams was. 6'1" plus. Okay, I used to think that, and this is, I get criticized sometimes for changing my views, but I don't think that should be criticized. That's just, that's being honest. As you gain more information, you're going to learn more things and your views are going to adapt. And that is one thing that I used to kind of make excuses when I liked certain suspects who were short. I said, well, but then you research more and you go, start using your noggin going, okay, well, is it really possible that many people who saw him standing are going to be that far off? Right. I don't see it. Okay. The super chat, where'd it go? DB Cooper himself. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate that. Have you seen anything in the 302s that confirmed Cooper was putting his hand in the bomb case when passengers came back near him? Real bomb, if so. Yes, absolutely. That is, Tina Mucklow has said that often. It might be in her 302, but she has definitely said that often, that as passengers, that's really when she did it. And I think that might be why the passengers, noticed Cooper with his hand in the briefcase, because that was when he came back, or that was when they saw him because they were near him enough to see him. So, and Bill Mitchell talks about Cooper keeping his hand in and out, and that's probably as people came back to go to the bathroom or whatever. But no, she says that as passengers came back, he would put his hand in the briefcase. Now, you say real bomb, if so, yeah, that could indicate that if he felt he was going to get jumped by somebody. Remember, he thought that the cowboy was an air marshal. If he thought he was going to get jumped by someone, then yeah, if he didn't want to be taken alive, real bomb. Although it could be a thing where he needed it as a bluff. That's when he needed the bluff. He didn't need to bluff Tina anymore, right? Tina was thoroughly convinced that, to quote her, we were facing a very real and horrifying threat, is what Tina said. So didn't need to convince her, but if a passenger wanted to be a hero, Cooper might go, up, my hand's in the bomb. It's a bomb, don't touch, it could have been theater, right? So I do agree that it's possible that maybe that is when you want to blow yourself up before you get jumped, but it's also possible that he needed it just for the bluff factor. To go, oh, don't touch it, or Tina goes, his hand's on the trigger, whatever, something like that. The one question I remember, the guy asking me, I wish I could have, I don't know why I can't see his comments. It stinks. I'm really sorry about that, fella. But a guy made some comments. I read a bunch of questions earlier. One of the questions I do remember was about Paul Sceini. He said, was anybody in Sceini's orbit ever investigated? Well, I don't know if Paul Sceini had an orbit. Okay. Paul Sceini was a loser. Now, granted, most of these hijackers are losers. No offense to McNally, Mac, if you're watching, but although Mac would probably admit he was a loser back then for sure. But Sceini was a loser, no doubt about it. And I don't, but no, there's no indication. Although the FBI firmly believed that that Cooper was a copycat. We see that a couple times in 302s. They're like, we believe he was influenced by the Sceini hijacking. Which, I mean, again, we can debate that all we want, but man, that's a real coincidence, right? That a guy comes up with this totally unique form of hijacking, and then 12 days later, another one happens. That's just unlikely. I mean, you could say, well, Cooper had the idea himself as well, and then bumped his idea up. After Sceini happened, he was like, well, they'll try to figure out a way to stop this. I better do it now. But more likely, it was that way. Our favorite criminal psychologist, Dr. Hubbard, right? For those of you who know this book, The Skyjacker, Dr. Hubbard was a criminal psychologist who majored in, or his field was skyjackings, right? He interviewed over 100 skyjackers, I believe, something like that. It's insane. He interviewed all these guys in prison. And he was a firm believer that Cooper was a copycat. He believed in the idea of, he called them mutations, wherein all unique or notable crimes will immediately have copycats who emulate it. And he was pretty blunt when he discussed Cooper. And I think I have that quote somewhere. There it is. Yeah. Hubbard says about Cooper, Cooper created nothing. He was an imitative creature like all the others who followed him. So yes, he was a Cooper copycat fella. And I'm pretty sure it was too. Now, granted, I mean, Sceini was on the front page of the New York Times, of the Chicago Tribune. In my book I've got here, reading from my Sceini bit, it says, front page headlines read, "He wanted to parachute out. Hijacker tries parachute. Dynamite wielder set to parachute. Parachute try thwarted." These are big letters. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Hijacker use parachute. So, I don't know. It just seems right. I mean, so I think Cooper definitely perfected it, or as well, well, not perfected it. Cooper could have done a lot of things better, but he brought a more professional aspect to Sceini. And by the way, folks, the Sceini hijacking is horrifying. If you don't know the Sceini hijacking, boy, he was shoving dynamite in the mouths of flight attendants. He fired a shotgun that in the plane that took a hole. He fired a shotgun that tore a hole between the first class lounge and the cockpit. The flight crew thought his dynamite had exploded, and they immediately put on their oxygen masks, thinking that the plane was depressurizing and they were going to lose oxygen, or whatever. So Sceini was a fruitcake for sure. He had a copy of the book Airport with him, by the way. I think that's kind of funny. On the plane. But now Sceini was terrifying. He was wearing a black ski mask, had a double barrel shotgun. He was a real menace. What's funny though is the passengers who weren't in first class had no idea that they were hijacked until they landed. So sort of like Cooper. If you're wondering how the shotgun blast was disguised, a purser ran to the back and claimed that it was a light bulb had exploded. Think fast. A light bulb exploded. Like maybe something, but so, and one of the first class passengers mentioned how surreal it was to be confronted with Paul Sceini wearing a black ski mask with a shotgun, holding it to a stewardess's head the whole time, and then to hear laughter and chatter right behind him in the coach section. So. Yeah, one hell of a light bulb, for sure. Sceini was drunk, but he was a lunatic as well, for sure. He actually ordered 12 screwdrivers on the plane, but the purser, who was his main hostage, only filled it with vodka twice. So, yeah. Now, Sceini was a lunatic, and he asked for $1.5 million. They gave him $50,000. There's a kind of a funny story of when they delivered the money. He made the purser count it. for whatever reason. And the purser opens this briefcase that's supposed to have a 1.5 million. And he goes, oh shit. Because he immediately notices, he told this story later on. He said, I immediately noticed that it was bundles of 5s and 10s. Like, there's no way this is going to amount to anything. Or amount to 1.5 million. So he said he counted it very slowly, each bill, to make Sceini think it was a bigger. And Sceini's like, is it there? And he goes, yeah, it's all there, man. So, yeah. Look, it took 3, Sceini was a maniac. It took 3 blows from an axe in the head. Actually, it wasn't the blows. They hit him with the axe 3 times in his head. And even that didn't bring him down. There were 3 male flight crew members trying to drag him to the ground, and they're yelling, hit him with the axe. And they're finally, one of the pursers had to turn the axe around like a baseball bat and hit him with the handle to finally knock Sceini down. So anyway, Sceini was a nut. Hey Ryan, will you ever include Orville Lyons to the suspects page on the website? I need to do that. Actually, yes. I will do that. Very, very, absolutely. Thank you for reminding me. I don't know why I didn't do that. Okay. The bomb could have been flares used for his escape. We discussed this, and in general, flares are longer than. Tina said that the dynamite sticks were about 6 inches long, or maybe 8 inches long. I can't really remember, but I think she said 6 or 8 inches long. I'm not quite sure. Can't off the top of my head, but I think it was 6 inches long. Flares are longer because you have to, like a Roman candle, right? They have to be long so you don't burn yourself when you're holding them and the flames are shooting out. But there were flares. I believe maybe Flyjack found some flares that weren't, a foot long or whatever. So it's possible. Yeah, it's possible that it could have been flares. We do know that was typical. Hijackers would use flares and claim to be dynamite. But again, though, dynamite was easy enough to come by. You could literally buy dynamite at a hardware store for $1 or $2 for a bundle of 12 sticks. Paul Sceini walked on board Paul Sceini's flight. He had 60 sticks of dynamite. He had 60 sticks of dynamite with him. Okay? So dynamite was not impossible to come by, so you may as well just have real dynamite. And no, it doesn't matter if people are wondering in the legal system whether it matters if if a person had bullets in the gun or not. It does not matter. In the criminal justice system, it's about what the victims believe. Okay? It's not about whether it's real or not. It's the fear you put the victims in. So you won't get a lesser sentence if your finger is in the coat. Stick them up, see? Or whether you have a real pistol. It doesn't matter. It makes no difference legally. Okay? Harris Light has been gone for 40 years. Safe to say it is gone. I disagree, 18E. It's missing. They're not going to throw that away. Okay. That is no one is going to be like, okay, no one is going to come across a hair slide that's errantly placed somewhere and be like, oh, because it's got the evidence sticker on it, like PX2214. Nobody's going to toss that. Okay, it means something. So even if it's lost, it's lost. They wouldn't have tossed it. So, the best bet is that it is in the Vegas FBI office in some lost and found folder. Okay, so if we have any contacts with the Vegas FBI, and they have a lost and found folder, then yeah, it might be in there. Isn't kidnapping a capital offense in some states? Yes, it is. In Mississippi, I believe it is. Yeah, it is. It's not a death penalty case, though. Remember, so really, to get the death penalty in America, it's rare. Generally, it's got to be what's called felony murder, which is when you are committing a felony and then kill someone. So you're robbing, say the typical example used in law school is a gas station worker being killed during a stick-up, right? That's felony murder. Using explosives to kill someone is death penalty. Every state's different. I'm just saying Mississippi, but explosives is death penalty. Felony murder is death penalty. I forget. There's killing a government official is death penalty. So killing a cop would be death penalty. But kidnapping is a life in prison. It's not. It's a capital offense, but it's not. Let's say so. It's not. I guess it's not a capital offense, but kidnapping is a life. You can get life in prison for that. I guess I'll say. What if Cooper was a woman? What if Cooper was a bicycle? I don't know. I don't think Cooper was a woman. He seemed manly enough. Okie doke. Yes, Packer mentioned that Sceini. Yes, Sceini put. I remember when I was writing the chapter I wrote on Sceini, just being like, he put a wig. He put a black bushy wig on top of his balaclava ski mask. Like, what's the point of that? Like, why would you do that? But he did that. All right. Was Cooper and the 5 Skyjackers all given military parachutes? I believe so. Okay. Well, no. Well, okay. Remember, okay, so Rob Hetty brought his own parachute with him. McCoy brought his own parachute, but also asked for parachutes to come from a skydiving school, Perry Stevens, who actually signed I have his signature back there on my packing card, Perry Stevens. But that is where, so those would have been skydiver gear. But McNally was given front chest packs like those. He was given 6 of those. Okay. Heineman was given military gear. Okay. LaPointe was given 2 military backpacks. Yep. So yeah, that's the thing. The military is going to be quicker to part with things than a skydiving center, I would think. Cooper and 5 Skyjackers makes a good group name for a Motown group. Cooper and the 5 Skyjackers. Cooper and the Misfits. Transphobic. What about Barb? Okay. Barb's small, though. Barb's 5'8". Barb's little. And also Cooper had sideburns. Let's not forget this oft overlooked detail about D.B. Cooper. Tina Mucklow said Cooper had sideburns to the low ear level. Now, again, we don't have a profile sketch of Cooper. Bill Mitchell made one. And I keep hoping eventually it's going to turn up in the FBI files. But Bill Mitchell made one. And yes, Paul Sceini is still alive, by the way. Chris Cunningham called Paul Sceini. And I heard the audio. Paul Sceini said, "I am not the Paul Sceini who hijacked the plane. I get confused about that a lot. Sorry," and hung up. But it was Paul Sceini, I'm sure. Certainly. Yeah, he's still alive. That's a guy I'd love to come to CooperCon. He is the paterfamilias of all these guys, but he is still around for sure. We did try to contact him. Okay, but anyway, yeah, Cooper had sideburns to the low ear level. Okay, so like me, low ear level. Cooper had sideburns. Okay. Interesting. Why didn't they get Dan's parachutes from McCord? They tried. Okay, and they gave up. So they tried to do that, and there was a lot of red tape. So whoever they contacted at McCord was like, remember, it's a military chain of command. Everything's got to go up. He was like, well, let me talk to my captain about it. And like, it just went on. And then they started talking about putting chafe in the military guys were like, okay, well, they started strategizing like, okay, we can put chafe in there, which is like metal things so it can be picked up on radar and stuff. So, and then finally Northwest Flight Ops like, look, just forget it. You know, we've got them, you know, by that time they had secured them from Hayden and from Issaquah. But no, they did contact McCord, and that is why Cooper thought they were coming from McCord, right? Because we do have in the audio or in the transcripts where they tell somebody told, and we have in the Northwest Orient notes, they write McCord, okay? Because they thought their first contact was McCord. And so they told the flight crew, yeah, they're coming from McCord. And of course, at some point, they told Tina that, hey, tell him that the parachutes are coming from McCord. And then that's when Cooper goes, you know, McCord's only 20 miles away. This parachute should be here by now, you know. So Cooper thought they were coming from McCord, because the flight crew thought they were coming from McCord. In fact, there's no, I mean, Cooper assumed, I assume that Cooper thought they came from McCord, right? They never told Cooper, oh, these came from Issaquah Sky Sports and these came from wherever. So presumably when Cooper jumped, he thought that these were military parachute. I mean, he thought they came from McCord. There's no reason he wouldn't have thought they came from McCord because they never told him where they came from. I believe he jumped near Portland, Lord Byron. Right back where he started. He may have even driven back home in his own car. I agree with that. Problem is with Cooper is that he did not give them enough detail to pick a flight path. They could have picked one of two flight paths. They very easily could have picked Victor 27 instead of Victor 23. Both of those go out south from Seattle. And in fact, I've looked at V27 and I've tracked it all the way down to like Oregon, to the bottom of Oregon, and it basically hugs the coast. So it's parallel with V23 essentially, but it's on the coastline essentially. And I'm kind of surprised they didn't take that, because if they thought this plane had a bomb on it, you would think they would not want to fly over, because V23 essentially drives right down I-5. So plane blows up, it's going to rain debris down onto a house or cars or whoever. Whereas hugging the coast would be safer for the population. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do that. But no, so Cooper, and V27 is 40 miles, 30 miles west of V23. So while I like to think that Cooper jumped back where he started, I think he was just winging it, really. So that's what I think. What were the names of the parachutes? I don't know the names of the parachutes because we've not, there was never any need for super nerds to figure out exactly what parachutes those guys had. So I've never seen, he's asking what the names of the parachutes given to the Copycat Skyjackers were, like MB8, for example, or MB6. Don't know. I've not seen, I can't recall seeing the exact pack name of any of the parachutes that were given to any of the copycats. Just that they had come from military bases or whatever. Ryan, will we ever be able to listen to more of the cockpit audio recordings? Stay tuned. Stay tuned. We do believe that we are getting access to the full audio recordings of the hijacking soon. Perhaps they will be played at CooperCon. We'll keep you informed. Was Cooper a Democrat or Republican? He was a Whig. He's a member of the Whig Party. Maybe the Know Nothing Party, too. I don't think Cooper was a Republican or a Democrat. A Whig or a Know Nothing. Maybe it was the party of good feelings. And wasn't that one of the parties that from the there are all these weird parties, the Know Nothings, and I forget some of the other political parties. Maybe he's a bull moose. Nothing can stop a bull moose. Nothing can stop a Cooper. We have pictures of what was given. No, we don't have. We have pictures of two parachutes Cooper had. We don't have pictures of the dummy chute or the one he jumped with. Cooper was a Rough Rider. Bully. Jacksonian Democrat. There we go. Do you believe Cooper had an accomplice? Probably not. Again, if Cooper was having to wing it to such a degree where they could have taken a flight path that was 30 miles away, then probably not. He kind of seems like a lone wolf to me. Just my opinions. I wonder if Cooper had a reason for the heist. Like, what if his son needed money for college? It's cool to think if he may have had a motive. Well, one thing we know about Cooper is that he did not have a $200,000 problem because he was freely giving away. We know he offered Tina at least $2,000. Alice Hancock has said that he offered her and Flo each a packet, which would be another $4,000. So, I mean, Cooper was willing to give away at least $6,000. So he did not have a $200,000 problem. So It is strange he seemed relaxed about what route they were flying, but he did turn down coastal cities and settle on Reno. Yeah, he did. I think, yes, they offered him San Francisco or LA, and he said both of those were too busy. So make of that what you will. I don't know why. It is interesting that he cared enough to reject, but I guess, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting about that. But he did settle on Reno. He suggested Phoenix. Phoenix was his first pick, which is funny. Ironically, Phoenix was where Paul Sceini wanted to go after they took off, because Sceini's plan was to jump into the Grand Canyon. Okay. The genius. In his suit, he had a 70-pound suitcase with him. 70 pounds. I have no idea how he intended to jump with that. In fact, let me read off what he had. Let me read off what Paul Sceini had in his luggage. He had a map of the world, a canteen, a bag filled with clothes, 2 Air Canada schedules, a snowsuit, a tent, photographs of parachutists, leather gloves, a flashlight, a transistor radio, a shovel, hiking boots, a paperback copy of Arthur Haley's Airport, a M1 carbine rifle with a folding paratrooper stock, and a partridge in a pear tree. So Sceini had a bunch of gear with him, for sure. All right. But yeah, but he wanted to jump into the Grand Canyon was Sceini's first plan. So I think that's why he asked for Phoenix when they took off from Great Falls, Montana. Which again, Great Falls, Montana, more vortex stuff. Great Falls was one of the stops for the Cooper plane before it got to Portland. Was they had stopped at Great Falls. Water. It is surprising he didn't bring booze with him. He was a drunk. He told the stewardess that he had drank a 26-ounce vodka bottle before the flight. He was a major alcoholic. In fact, when he was in the Army, he was filling his canteen with vodka. It's weird. Sceini got drunk. Sceini was on the run from the Mounties. He was a car thief, and he was on the run from Mounties and skipped across the border, and on a drunken whim in Spokane joined the Army and served for 10 months. And then when he couldn't talk his way out of it, he tried to be like, oh, this isn't for me. He argued that he was drunk when he enlisted, and that didn't work. So Sceini stole a car at a military base and then drove to Canada to go back to Canada. And the border agents saw his Army uniform just carelessly tossed in the back seat and were like, you must be a deserter, and all that stuff. When I saw the Dan Greider documentary the first time, I thought he was going to reveal that he was D.B. Cooper. It wouldn't surprise me. Dan is I need to do a full length reaction to his D.B. Cooper, his McCoy videos, because they're clownish. All right. I'm sure weirder. Am I getting excited for CooperCon? Hello, the Queen. Yes, of course. I'm always excited to see my friends. I'm excited to see Larry Carr again. Excited to see Mac again. Again, people, come meet Martin McNally. Come get a photo with Martin McNally. The man is a living legend. All right. Who else jumps out of a 727 with $500,000 on him? Mac. And his movie's being shown too. His movie is being shown Saturday night. So at the theater, we were joking about having a red carpet and Mac in a tuxedo, to be funny. What if Cooper didn't mean to hijack? I mean, I don't understand what that means. Oh, Queen, you're coming. Thank you. Great. Thanks for coming. Dan has some cool footage. Just wish he didn't ruin it with buffoonery. I agree. I mean, Dan does interview Himmelsbach, and there is some decent things that you can take away from his documentary. His conclusion is extremely flawed. Do you think they got additional DNA from the spindle? No, Yanks, I don't think so. No. I don't think they tested even. Why would they? Like, the FBI doesn't give a damn about this case anymore, people. They're not going to test the tie spindle. They're not going to do anything to waste resources on DB Cooper, right? They will only respond to you if you claim to have money, a body, or a parachute. And Dan Greider jumped on that because he claimed to have a parachute, so he acts like it's some huge deal that the FBI came and took the parachute, or that they wanted the parachute. Well, again, parachute, body, money, right? So the real key there is they got that parachute years ago. Something would have been said about it if it was real Cooper's parachute or whatever, but it's not. How legit do you think the palm print is? I mean, as legit as we could think, right? The FBI seemed really intent on that palm print being Cooper's. In fact, I mean, they even eliminated suspects solely on the palm print. So they seemed to think it was pretty good. And I think so too. Another thing about the palm print indicates that Cooper did not, remember, Cooper left 11 partial fingerprints around his seat. Okay, they were obfuscated. They were partials, all of them. So Cooper did something to his fingers to hide his fingerprints. And some people said, well, maybe he used the tie or something to wipe his area down. But if that was so, if Cooper used his tie to wipe everything down, and that's what smudged the prints, then the palm print would have also been smudged by that same token, right? But the palm print was not smudged. It was a full palm print, or enough to be usable. Is Al Lee the person who brought the money to plane? Is he still alive? No, Al Wood. His name was Al Wood Lee. Al Wood died in the 80s, so no, he's long since passed away. Somebody said, is Rob Hetty alive? Absolutely. Rob is very much alive and came to the Cooper Symposium in 2013, and we're going to try to get him to CooperCon hopefully this year. That'd be cool to have Hetty and Mac. Awesome. Is Dennis Lisney, the ticket agent, still alive? No. Lisney was an older guy. You would think that a guy selling tickets, the ticket agent, would be some younger person, but Lisney had been with the airline since World War II ended. Lisney was a badass. In fact, Lisney flew 50 missions as a tail gunner in World War II on a bomber. So he was a badass dude. There were some badasses around there. I mean, look at Lisney was a tail gunner at 50 missions. Captain Scott flew 62 missions in World War II. There were some badasses involved, and I tend to think Cooper might have been a badass too, given how calm he was. Do I think Cooper's crime was personal, such as a history of working for the government and wanting to make them a target for his hijacking? No, because the target for his hijacking was an insurance company. I mean, that's a bank, right? I mean, who was he hurting other than an insurance company or the airline or a bank, right? I think Cooper's motive was just profit, right? It's a bank robbery, right? Think about this. We don't assume that bank robbers have a grudge against somebody, or they just want money. That's what I think. So let's assume we solve Tina Barr. Does that mean we nail Cooper down? Absolutely not. Hell no. And that is why Tina Barr is irrelevant to me. It may as well not exist to me. I mean, the only thing Tina Barr tells us, the only thing, is that is D.B. Cooper's money. That's all it can tell us. Okay. Although, I do think it does create an inference that, or maybe an implication, I get those confused, but it does imply or infer that Cooper survived, right? Because Tina Barr is 10 miles away from where he jumped. So how does it get there? If not Cooper himself. I mean, to come up with a scenario that for Tina Barr money getting there with Cooper dying, you have to come up with scenarios where a person finds Cooper dead and buries him leaving no trace ever to be found, and then takes the money away from the body, and then for some reason that money that he took away from Cooper's dead body ends up on Tina Bar. Just like, no, the more logical solution is that it got there because of Cooper leaving the drop zone at some point, maybe giving money to a kid who gave him a ride, maybe an accomplice, maybe, I don't know. But I heard some of the serial numbers didn't match the Cooper ransom. No. Nope. The serial number is 100% matched. That is not true. Why did Mac not tie the money around his waist like Cooper? Well, actually, Mac had a better idea, really. If we look at Mac, let's see. Let's look at how Mac tied the money to himself. And I will use Mac's own illustration here that he drew for me. I texted McNally a while back, years ago, and said, hey, draw how you wore the money on you. And he did. But yeah, let me try to find a photograph here of Mac's money. And you can get a real good sense of trying to understand. You can understand when you see the Mac's money, why. Oh, that's right. It's in the ransom money folder of mine. Yeah. Where is it? Okay. Perfect. So Mac's money arrived in a mailbag, in a leather mailbag. See that right there? A leather mailbag. Now you can see there that the guy is holding it by the, by like a handle that's at the top, right? And what Mac did is Mac took off his belt from his pants. There's a better photograph here. Let me zoom in on it. See that he's holding that leather handle there. Well, Mac took his belt off of his pants and then looped his belt through that loop, like that. So you can see where Mac sort of drew his belt line there. It says belt, yeah. And which is a clever way. Like, that bag is not going anywhere. If your belt has gone through a loop and you tie your belt to yourself, you just redo your belt. But Mac's problem was that his belt was a snap belt. It wasn't a like regular belt like we would have a regular stitched belt. It was a snap belt, like little snaps. And so as soon as he pulled his ripcord, the belt snapped and it's gone. The money's gone. So if Mac had been wearing a better belt, then Mac lands with his money. Do I believe that the suitcase and fake bomb is tucked away somewhere? The bomb is the bomb is disintegrated probably. I mean, not all of it, but the bomb is laying somewhere in that vast forest between like Tacoma and the Lewis River. I forget what that forest is called, mostly timberland. But that is where, I mean, he had no reason to hold on to the suitcase. I mean, to his briefcase. I mean, just throw it out the back. The FBI, firm believers, they threw it out the back. Other hijackers threw theirs out the back too. So no reason to think Cooper held on to it. And especially because Tina saw him pretty close to being ready to jump. And she makes no mention of the briefcase being tied to him in any way. Okay. What if Cooper was an FBI agent? Nah. FBI agents are squares. I'm sorry. They're Boy Scouts, a lot of this, especially back then. Did they find his money after the belt snapped? Well, yeah. There's his money. This is a person. It landed in a farmer's field. Okay, this is not the farmer. That's some FBI agent, older FBI agent holding it. But yeah, they found it in an American Airlines bag. And Mac will cuss to his dying day. Vern Elliott, I think it's the guy's name who found it. Some old farmer, 75 years old. Mac's like, what a fool. The man had $500,000 just land in his front yard. Could have just shut his mouth. But he didn't. And they ended up giving him he negotiated. I think they wanted to give him like a $10,000 reward. And he was like, I want 15. And they ended up giving him 15, I think. all the parachutes given to Cooper, none of them were steerable? No, they would not have been steerable. I mean, no. Ryan, the Cooper bills are 69, 63, and 61. Yes, 69 A series, 63s, and 61s. They're all on my website, norjack.org. You can see all of them on there. I wonder where the bag was sitting when he was goofing around with the stews. You mean you mean the mystery bag? Okay, Blackie, Blingy, you're talking about the mystery bag or his suitcase or his briefcase? I'm sorry. Let me know. Yeah, briefcase and red sticks and metal. Yeah, but not disintegrate. Disintegrate is too much of a word for me to be using for that stuff. But I guess I meant more so that wouldn't look like much anymore if somebody ever came across it. Yes, I agree. The parachute that Cooper used was the best one out of all of them. I agree. Because if it's an MB6 like that back there, which is the replica right there that Earl Cossey himself made, I'm the proud owner of it. I had to shut Grider up that way. But that is certainly a lot better of a parachute, right, than the crummy World War II parachute that is in the museum. So he definitely chose the newer one too. The canopy was newer too. Not just the pack, the canopy was newer. Does the name J.H. McDonald ring a bell with you? J.H. McDonald. That wasn't the Canadian who went missing, was it? There's a Canadian suspect. Not a suspect. There's a Canadian who went missing around that time. But he's not a good match. Do I miss the big political announcement? Yes. I do have an announcement to make. Hear ye, hear ye. I'm officially announcing today that I am lending my full support to Eric Ulis for Lieutenant Governor of Rhode Island. If you didn't know, Eric Ulis is running for Lieutenant Governor of Rhode Island. So there you have it. I give my full endorsement to all of his political positions as Lieutenant Governor of Rhode Island. I believe his slogan is "Let's make Rhode Island kick ass again" or something like that. But yes, Eric Ulis is actually running for Lieutenant Governor. So, hey, I like Eric. So, more power to you. More power to ye, Eric. All right. Yes, and you can see Eric Ulis, Rhode Island. If you put it on YouTube, you can see his announcement video. He is running for Lieutenant Governor. Okay. Black Wingy's talking about the mystery bag. Okay. The mystery bag, I really believe, was under Cooper's seat, right? You got to put stuff somewhere, right? I think it was under Cooper's seat. For most of the hijacking. Let me explain why. Alice nor Flo mentioned the mystery bag. All right. So when Cooper, let's just say, for example, right, when Flo and Cooper are back there, they're not talking about anything. I'm sorry, when Flo was talking to Cooper doing the ransom at the start, you would think that she would have seen when he's showing her the briefcase, look at this, that there would have been a bag somewhere and she could have mentioned, oh, there was a bag. But Flo never mentions a bag. Okay, and that's also why I think that the bag was inside the briefcase first, because Flo doesn't mention him with a bag, but yet Flo saw him walking toward her across the tarmac, and Flo took his ticket, and Flo served him drinks and all this other stuff. So, but Flo makes no mention of the bag. So, and then Alice, right? We have this incident later on in the flight, or later on the hijacking, when Alice and Flo come back and ask Cooper to leave. Where's the mystery bag? Why doesn't Alice mention the mystery bag? Why doesn't Flo mention it at this point? Right? So my belief is that Cooper put the mystery bag under his seat. Because remember, only 3 people see the mystery bag, right? Yeah, Tina. We have Tina, Nancy House, and Bill Mitchell. Okay? Nancy House sees the mystery bag when Cooper exits the bathroom because it's on top of his he put it on top of his briefcase. right? And but when does Bill see the bag, right? And that's why I think it was under Cooper's seat. Because you know how, like, think about if you are on an airplane or whatever, and you can kind of see sometimes across the aisle. Imagine looking across the aisle. Sometimes you can see underneath the seats. Okay, and so I think I think Bill saw that. I think Bill would have had the angle. See, Bill has a really unique angle that no one else has. Complete side profile of Cooper. That's why he sees the turkey neck. No one else does, and that's why he probably sees the mystery bag, because it's under Cooper's seat, right? And Tina doesn't see the mystery bag even. The first mention of the mystery bag for Tina is toward the end of the hijacking narrative. She basically says, like, all of a sudden this green bag is there. Didn't know where it came from. So that seems to indicate that Cooper, later on, once it was just Tina and him back there, that's when he reaches underneath the bag, underneath his seat, and pulls the bag out. So I think the mystery bag was under Cooper's seat for the flight, because why else would no one else see this? Just my thoughts on that. Okay. Why did Braden defect from the CIA? How was he arrested? Well, he was never Braden is a spook, right? Braden is not ever an actual employee of the CIA. Okay, Braden was a spook. He was off book. So I don't think Braden ever defected. I'm not sure how was he arrested. I mean, what? Okay, so the sequence of events for Braden is he's in Vietnam at the end of '66 and shoots a ARVN. That's the Army of Vietnam. That's the South Vietnamese. For the kids out there, that's the South Vietnamese Army, who are our allies. Braden just pulls out a pistol and shoots this guy dead in the streets of Saigon. Okay, which makes me think of that quote that we heard at CooperCon from Drew Beeson, that quote of one of the guys who knew Braden, saying that if Braden entered a bar, if I was in a bar and Braden entered, I would switch hands and put my drink in my left hand and reach for my pistol with my right hand, because you never knew what Ted was going to do. So Ted shoots this South Vietnamese officer, and he's arrested for murder, of course, and escapes. He just vanishes, and they find him. He apparently ends up, like 6 months later, they find him in the Congo working as a mercenary. The CIA go and get him and bring him back to face justice. I have started to think, I think it was Nicole Legg who actually made me think about this. I think she mentioned it on on one of Darren's podcasts. But Nicole, if you're out there, thank you for making me think about it. That was probably a cover for the CIA. Is the CIA likes to use incidents to their advantage. And I think that Ted escaped from Saigon, or they let him go probably, and said, so he was probably infiltrating the Congo Civil War. He was probably infiltrating them for the CIA. So when the CIA came and arrested Braden, why would Ted go with them willingly anyway? He's facing death, court-martial. I mean, again, not only did he kill somebody, but he deserted an active war zone, which could put you up against the wall and for a firing squad. Desertion in wartime. They've shot people for that in the U.S. Army. They did. Okay, so, well, I guess the last one was Eddie Slovak in World War II, but theoretically they could have shot him for desertion. So I think Ted goes back a little too willingly, and Ted's also a little too cavalier when he's in Fort Dix. Jim Aurelian says U.S. dropped out of the race already. Did he? That'd be too bad. But yeah, so I think that Ted was, that the Congo thing was probably a CIA op for Ted Braden. Okay. Okay, DB Cooper at large. I think I know who you are. I do think I know who you are. Okay, Skibone21 says, can you explain the pressure bump in detail? Is that the only way this occurs? Is there any way, is it possible there were more unreported? No. Max, I'll get to your question, buddy. I promise. The pressure bump. No, the only way you're going to do that, again, Scabone, go watch my video on did DB Cooper actually jump. I go into the detail on the pressure bump a lot, but essentially the only way for that to happen is for a very large weight to suddenly be removed from the stairs, causing them to boom, to go back up and smash up against the fuselage. And no, there were no other reported instances of that during the flight. That was the one and only time that happened. It popped their ears. They look around. Yeah. Do I have that on my? Let's see if I have this on my. Is this the one? I'm sorry, folks. Bear with me. I'm trying to see if. Yeah, my AI made a pressure bump video for me. I was wiggling with AI, and yeah, here's them reacting to the pressure bump very poorly, but it's AI. I can't. I'm no wizard. Sorry, folks. No, I mean Radicek looks. I just said make them look concerned, but. I do like Tina back there going, I'm looking at Tina's eyes. Isn't that great? She's like, what? Is Eric Eulis behind me? Is that Eric? Captain Scott looks a little too frightened too. The only one who looks realistic is Andy. You know, what was that? But yeah, pressure bump. But yeah, no. There's no way Cooper could have faked that. And again, we have the examples. Every other copycat hijacker, when they jumped, they caused a pressure bump. Same exact thing. So, okay, Max. Okay, Max, I'll get to you, buddy. I got you. All right, Max. If Cooper threw his briefcase out and lost the money, they would have found them like Mac threw his. Okay, that's not your question. Okay, where's your question there? Okay. Did Cooper and the 5 Skyjackers bring special clothing and footwear and other equipment? Not really. Heinemann asked, part of his ransom was for jumpsuits and for, he may have asked for boots. I think he did. Maybe he didn't. I don't think so. Maybe, I don't know if he did or not. I'm trying to remember that. But he definitely asked for jumpsuits and helmets. Okay. I remember Mac didn't bring anything to really help him out. It's funny, when I mentioned that Heinemann asked for helmets, I told that to Mac, and Mac's like, oh, I should have thought of that. Because, Mac was delayed because he got a concussion when he hit the ground. So helmet might have helped. Okay. So no, Max, I don't know of the copycats. Queen says, did Cooper leave the briefcase sitting in the seat while he was moving around with the money and chutes? I noticed no mention of it in later portions. Yeah, it's interesting that you never see it mentioned again. The next time it comes up in the narrative is Tina saying, will you please take it with you? And he goes, yeah, I'll take it with me or I'll disarm it. So yeah. Was Cooper a skydiver? No, he was not a skydiver. I do not believe that D.B. Cooper was a skydiver. If he was a skydiver, he would have specified better parachutes or brought his own parachute. No skydiver is going to... I mean, look, you have the knowledge, so why not use it? I mean, so... Do I think he jumped at 8:13? 8:12 these days? 8:13? Yeah, I mean... I'll make a video on it, but I'm pretty sure that Cooper jumped earlier than I used to think. I've kind of come around on that. But yeah, I think he jumps earlier. Did the parachute recovered from the railroad bridge get processed as evidence? They never recovered it. Okay, they called about it. They told the Vancouver Police Department about it, and the Vancouver Police Department said, "Oh well, the hijacker they're all up in aerial area. That's 30 miles away." And they never did anything with it. They never went and investigated it. And by the time that they were back there the next day, or 2 days later, the fishermen who spotted it it was gone. So, but I mean, the odds that a white canopied parachute would be hung up on a railroad bridge the day after, a couple days after the hijacking, if that story is true, and we have no reason to doubt that its veracity, that's probably Cooper. I mean, it very likely could be Cooper's parachute, and that he ditched it into the river. Who knows? Maybe that explains Tina Barr. Maybe he put some of the money in there and chunked it, right? I don't know. I want to believe Cooper fought in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Well, stay tuned, possibly. Yeah, Lord Byron's right. Yeah, probably. The Congo mercenaries was a CIA-sponsored operation. Yeah, probably. But I believe Cooper, he says, yes, but I believe Cooper was a military parachutist. Yeah, of course. I mean, well, I think so. Check the thumbs up like button. Thank you, Bill Manning. Why don't you come to CooperCon? What if DB was his real name? Well, he didn't use DB. He used Dan Cooper, right? So, but that would be funny if his name was actually like DB. Yeah, his name was DB Cooper. All right. The Infamous America podcast is very good, as is Lamino. I'll have to check that out and see how accurate it is. I mean, Lamino is okay, but Dan Greider lies about McCoy, Ryan. Thank you for showing the truth that McCoy was in Vegas. Well, I mean, we know McCoy was in Vegas. I mean, that's in the FBI files, and he did go to Vegas the day after the hijacking. But we know from multiple witnesses, that he went there after Thanksgiving dinner or lunch. I mean, so, and he didn't go there to launder money. He went there to gamble with his wife for like some anniversary trip or something like that. So no, he was there. Can we cross off all suspects named Dan or Cooper? No. I mean, I still think that there is a minuscule possibility that LD Cooper was Cooper, but he's not as bad of a suspect as you think. I'll say that about LD. And we do know that LD was dumb enough in the past to use his aliases. He had aliases with the last name Cooper. That's in the FBI files. We found that he did have aliases for shenanigans, that he used his real last name. So maybe he was that stupid. But no, I won't cross off any all people with Cooper last names, because there's a tiny chance. Ryan, can you do a reaction video to DB Cooper, Unsolved No More? Yeah, sure. Thanks. Okay. Hey, Ryan, why not have Dr. Roberts on? Dr. Robert? It's a Beatles song. Dr. Robert. Dr. Robert was their dentist who gave them LSD for the Beatles. Fun fact, kids. Anyway, why not have Dr. Robert Edwards on? His knowledge and his book are top notch. Okay. If you say so. I like Doc. Doc's a friend. But Doc is technologically impaired. He has a difficult time doing interviews online and things like that. He's a Victorian, I would say. He's not very good with technology. He'll admit it. Ryan, have you read Ha Ha Ha? No. I never will. I have heard the book review that Nicole and Darren did on it, and I have no interest in that nonsense. And it is nonsense. Okay. Oh, come on. If you were to bet your life on one suspect, who would it be? Or would you bet it's someone unknown this far? Absolutely unknown. Hell yeah. But if I had to pick a suspect that I'm aware of, I like the new guy. So there should be more CooperCon plugs, but I mean, if I had to pick a suspect known to me, I'd probably go with the new guy, for sure. Speaking of books, what's the ETA on my book? I don't bloody know. Again, it's with literary agents, and it's If I didn't, I think about the book is, look, I mean, I could have self-published it on Amazon or something, which I could have done. And people like John Packer have done it to great success. But I think my book is academic enough, and I think it's going to stand the test of time, and I think it deserves to be reliably published so it can be quoted on Wikipedia. Remember, the entire reason I wrote that book, honestly, is because I was motivated by Wikipedia, because they wouldn't let me use sources like Bruce's book on there. Oh, not reliably published. Okay. So I told the admins of Wikipedia, I said, so if I write my own book and get it reliably published, I can put whatever I want on the Wikipedia page? They said yes. I said, okay, challenge accepted then. Did the new guy fight in the war, Ryan? Yes, the new guy definitely was a soldier. Did he have any tan marks on his wedding ring? Nobody noticed anything about his fingers. So, okay. Cooper could be in his 40s. People can have a turkey neck in their 40s, right, Ryan? Well, I am in my 40s. So, yes. People have turkey necks in their 40s. Skip is a great person of interest. He sure is. And Skip's good. And Skip gets better. To be honest with you, Skip gets better and better. I mean, Packer's doing great work. Skip's really good. Is the new guy a standard white man? No. Nope. No. Definitely not. Okay. Maybe more thorough search of the Dan Cooper comic book origin in Canada should be done. Yeah. Good question, Al Cow. Based on your study of how they carried off their skyjackings, which copycat do you think actually learned the most from Cooper's example? Gosh, they're all different. I mean, that's the problem. So the issue with copycats is that they were only going off of either the concept or going off what limited information was in the papers about D.B. Cooper, right? So it's kind of interesting when you like, if somebody had all the knowledge, like if someone time traveled today and got all the information they needed about Cooper's hijacking, and then then went back in time and did it, then yeah, they could come up with a pretty damn good Cooper emulation. The problem is all the copycat hijackers are different. It's almost like a person it's almost like a musician hearing a song one time and then trying to like replicate it. It's going to have it's going to have shades of the original song, but it won't be the original song, and probably won't even be really close. So they're all different. They all do different things. The closest one, probably McCoy. I hate to say that, but probably McCoy. Yeah. McCoy does things very differently than Cooper, but probably, I hate to say that, lest anyone go, oh, Ryan's saying Cooper, Cooper McCoy. No. But remember, McCoy wrote a term paper on Cooper. So McCoy did have the most information on Cooper than anybody, because he did have articles on Cooper at his house that they found for his paper he was writing. So, yeah. Did any suspects ever live near Tina Bar? And after the money fine, did the FBI interview the nearby residents about suspicious activity? That is not in the FBI files, them talking to locals about it. Maybe they did, but I didn't see that. As far as suspects living near Tina Bar, I always have to have my suspect cheat sheet up whenever I think about suspects. There's so many of them. Of all these, the closest to Tina Bar would have been Dr. Roman for sure. Roman lived in Washougal, which is not too far away outside Vancouver. Strom was from Seattle. Melvin Wilson lived in Wisconsin. Dwayne lived, I think, in Kansas at the time. Now, I could be wrong. Vordal in, Jesus, I'm brain farting. He lived in Washington State. I'm ashamed of myself. Pateros, Washington, yes. Ted lived in Chicago. Skip Hall lived in, I think, L.A. at the time. Langseth lived in L.A. Catalano lived in Eugene, Oregon. Dick Lepsey was last seen. Dick's from Wisconsin, maybe? Or Michigan. No, Michigan. I think he's a Michigan guy. Rackstraw living in California somewhere. Maybe Sacramento. I'm not sure. Don Burnworth, I believe, lived in Arizona. Peterson was on a mountain in Nepal. Okay, Kofelt was literally at the time of the hijacking. Kofelt was in a alcohol rehab center in Washington D.C. L.D. Cooper lived in Sisters, Oregon. Lakich lived in I think Clarksville, Tennessee. Kinney lived in outside Seattle, I believe. Lee Seller, last seen dropping off his kids in outside Seattle. E. Howard Hunt, no idea. McCoy obviously lived in Provo. Gossett lived in, I think Gossett was either in Salt Lake City at the time. No. He was a ROTC instructor in, where was Gossett living at the time? People, help me out. I think Gossett was maybe in Salt Lake City, I think. Recca was in Michigan. Orville Lyons was unclear. Last seen in Seattle. Barb lived in, Woodburn, Oregon, I think. So, yeah. So it would be, Roman would be closest. Was anyone, there he is, Christian. Okay, yeah, you were asking about, Christian, you're the one, you kept asking questions and I couldn't see them. For some reason, I can't see your questions until now. Like, I know you wrote a bunch of questions, so write them again. I did mention this earlier. You must have missed it. Was anyone in Sceini's life investigated after the Cooper case? I said, not to my knowledge, and I don't think Sceini had anyone in his orbit. He was a real, drunken loser. I don't think Sceini had any friends, to be honest. How many Cooper book authors will be attending the conference? Well, Bruce will be there. Packer will be there. Yours truly will be there. I don't know if Drew Beeston's coming back. I hope he is. Bill Rollins might come. He comes occasionally. Maybe some others. Good deal, Max. Good to have you. Good to have you coming. Okay. Why did Cooper hijack a plane if it's illegal? The best things in life are illegal. Because he wanted money. Okay. Ryan, do I believe Cooper and the 5 hijackers were injured? Well, yes. Cooper probably was injured. I mean, landing at night with a 24-foot canopy is not going to be a nice landing. Okay. So now it's funny, all the skydivers the FBI interviewed about Cooper said he lived, but they all said they think he was probably injured. His ankles or something, feet, probably twisted an ankle or something. But McCoy was not injured. Okay. But Hetty dislocated his shoulder. Mack had a major concussion. LaPointe basically broke his ankle. He was immobile. He was stuck when he landed because of it. I don't know. I don't think Heinemann was injured. He was seen, I think, the next day, maybe in the local town. They think. So I don't think he was injured. But good possibility Cooper was injured, considering they couldn't see where he was landing. In fact, there was cloud cover at 1,500 feet, so Cooper couldn't see the ground even until he busted through the lower level of clouds. Okay. Oh, okay. Here's Christian. You did ask your questions, Christian. Will we ever see a completely unredacted version of the FBI files? No. Why or why not, and how would that work as redacted names pass away in the years to come? Yeah, that's the really thing that kind of pisses me off, is that essentially we're never gonna. I mean, maybe in 100 years they might do that, but that's kind of the bummer. Is that I know for a fact that they mess up on redactions. I've caught them redacting people who were long dead. Orville Lyons, for example. I had to tell them, hey, I figured out who this guy is in the redactions. His name is Orville Lyons. Stop redacting him. And a few vaults later, he's not redacted anymore. So there's that. But yeah, it's kind of a bummer because you wish they would cycle again and have somebody else do it. Now, you can do a FOIA to have them review a redaction. So, the ones that bug me, though, are the full page redactions. Like, there's not even a the or a that is listed. It's just blank. It's like, come on. That's not necessary. Could Cooper be Italian? Yes. In the FBI files, they mentioned he could be Mediterranean, which I guess would be Italian and Greek. Do I believe Cooper kept the money and never spent it? I don't know. Sorry to not get a... the DB Cooper Wikipedia page is probably the most accurate page on Wikipedia. It is. I've made sure that I tried, at least. I mean, there's some things on there that I can't... I mean, why would there be a full page of redactions at this point? I don't know. There are literally some pages in the 302s that are just blank. And I know that they are like an interview with somebody, and it's just the entire thing is blank. Okay. The Wikipedia page doesn't push that he survived. The problem is that, remember, the Wikipedia page relies on reliable sources, and they rely mainly on newspaper articles and things like that. And Larry Carr, a good friend of mine now, I never thought I'd have Larry Carr as I never thought that me and Larry would exchange Instagram reels with each other, but he's that kind of friend now. But Larry, obviously is a guy who thinks Cooper died. And so what Larry says, or Larry said when he was an agent, carried a lot of weight, and still does, with people who aren't so informed with the case. And so, a lot of articles quote Larry. And so you're going to see more dead Cooper stuff because of that. Did any of the stews mention Cooper smelling bad? No. I imagine that all airplanes smelled like cigarette smoke back then. So I doubt they could have smelled Cooper. McCoy's parachute was the only steerable one. Hetty's would have been steerable. Hetty tried to steer, but he couldn't. He couldn't steer well enough to get to where he wanted to go. But no, I think I would say McCoy, and I mean I don't know enough about what I don't know what canopies Heinemann had, but definitely McCoy's was steerable for sure. Yes, you did miss the Eric Eulis endorsement. I did. I gave him my full-hearted endorsement as Lieutenant Governor of Rhode Island. Sorry, Rhode Island and Providence Plantations. Actually, no longer. That's true. That's right. It's no longer Rhode Island and Providence Plantations. I think they got rid of that a few years ago, didn't they? Best state name ever. Rhode Island and Providence Plantations. But yes, it's at the Kiggins Theater. All right. Let me take a break here and drink something. There are far more Cooper suspects than actual people on the plane. What? Well, yeah. I mean, you got 1,000, allegedly. I mean, I don't know how many names I have on my list. Hundreds and hundreds, but yeah, lots of Cooper suspects. All right, folks. What else we got? Yes, Eric did run for Congress 5 years ago, I think, as a Republican. He has also run. He's run for politics a lot. He really wants to be a politician. He has run for political office many times. So so can someone confirm that Eric did drop out of the race? What happens if the new guy isn't Cooper either? Well, I mean, what happens? I mean, I don't think he's Cooper. I'll tell you that, but I think he's an intriguing suspect. I mean, the odds that we know Cooper is very, minuscule, in my opinion, that anyone knows who Cooper is. Yes, he did drop out. Oh. Al Cal, I will say that he says, is the new suspect thoroughly investigated to discover any possible disqualifying evidence? Yes. I would say that I tried to kill him. Like, killing Cooper suspects is a pastime for a lot of us, right? I can't poke holes in him, really. The only thing that, if you wanted to do this, I mean, he has no connection to tie particles. Okay, so there is no possible connection to there being a metallurgist or anything like that. So the tie would have to be either the particles are more common on clothing than we think, or the tie was somebody else's and he was wearing it. But no, there's none that I can tell any tie particle. But that's it. I don't think he was a pilot, which I do like. I do like the idea that Cooper was a pilot at some point. But again, I need to make a video on all the connections between the copycats and Cooper, because you see a lot of the same stuff. Like, we hear them saying, we have Radicek saying this guy knows a thing or two about an airplane, right? Well, we also see them saying that about Mac. Like, literally in the Mac says, I just got a text from Mac, says he tried to find it. I'm sorry, Mac. I'll get you next time. Dang, I'll give you advance. Sorry, having to text the Skyjacker. Give me a minute. A reformed Skyjacker, or a reformed parajacker, to be more precise. Terry says he's a pilot without a license. Yeah, I mean, it's possible this guy's a pilot, but again, as I said, we've got pilots saying Mac knew his way around an airplane. And now, granted, Mac does have 1,800 hours on an airplane, so I guess that's not crazy. But question: could Tom K be wrong? Yeah. Anyone else check the tie? Well, the tie comes from, and the tie particle stuff comes from Macron Institute, which is like the Vatican let them check on the Shroud of Turin, for God's sakes. So, like, Macron is the best in the world at electron microscopy, I guess it's called. So they do know what they're doing. Yank says, this may be a dumb question. I'm on the younger side of it all, but was Goodwill and other thrift stores around in 1971? Yes. Absolutely. There were Salvation Army stores and things like that back then, 100%. Do I think Cooper served in the military? Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, and all the copycats, I mean, every copycat and the godfather of it all, in my opinion, Sceini had served in the military at least. I mean, most men did, honestly, back then. With the draft, and especially at his age. I mean, Cooper is of an age where he's either going to be in World War II or Korea. And yeah, I mean, the odds are very, very, very high, Cooper's military. I mean, it would be hard to, I mean, think about this. I mean, look at our suspects who we like so much. Just look at our suspects. James Roman was in World War II and was an Air Force pilot, test pilot. Roger Strom was Air Force. Melvin Wilson was in the Navy in World War II. Dwayne Weber was on D-Day. Dwayne Weber, turns out, was in the 4th Infantry Division on D-Day, Utah Beach. Vordal is our outlier, but Vordal, ironically enough, killed more people than any of these dudes did. Vordal, the bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki would not have gone off if not for Vordal coming up with some kind of equation that solved a problem with it. Ted Braden was a killer. Ted Braden was in Air Force and Army. Skip Hall was Army. Langseth was Marine Corps. Catalano was in the Army. Lepsey was not military. He's an outlier. Rackstraw, of course, was Army chopper pilot. Burnworth was Air Force pilot in Korea. Sheridan Peterson was Marine Corps World War II. Kofelt was in the Army in World War II. L.D. Cooper was Navy in Korea. Lakich was a career military guy, was in World War II. Kenny Christensen was in the paratroopers in World War II. Lee Seller was a Lancaster bomber pilot over Europe during World War II. E. Howard Hunt was in the OSS during World War II. McCoy was Vietnam Army. Gossett was Army, Air Force, and Marines. Okay, different times. Shrek, Walter Recca, was a Air Force parajumper, which is pretty cool. Special Forces Air Force. Orville Lyons was a Marine Corps in Korea, was wounded. And Barb Dayton was in the Army in World War II and later was in the Merchant Marine. So, yeah, very likely Cooper was. Some other suspects not on there. Jack Collins, Army World War II. Who else? Yeah, I mean, they're all these guys are military. Again, just the age of people, the age of Cooper, he's in his 40s. This is a guy who's born in the 20s probably. That dude's going to serve in the military. Do I think the Skyjacker was a fan of the comic book? God, man, I don't know. That is one, I am totally agnostic on that. I have no idea. I have no opinion on that even. It's just as likely that he just made it up, but I mean, I don't know. Okay. Thank you all, DB Cooper suspects, for your service. What do you say to that, Ryan? Hey, join my Facebook group on Veterans Day. I always talk about all of our Cooper suspects. Good question there. What were the aliases of the 5 copycats? Well, if we include Sceini, Sceini used Dennis Monroe, which turns out was his cousin who lived in New Jersey. Sceini had stolen his IDs. So, John Shane was LaPointe's alias. No idea where that came from. Max was Robert Wilson. He just thought it was easy to remember. Obviously, McCoy's was T. Johnson. It's been reported as James Johnson throughout the years, but there is no evidence of that. He apparently just told them T. Johnson. Okay. Heineman was George Ames. Fisher had to have used an alias, but I don't know what his alias was. And I have his FBI files, but there's nowhere in there does it mention alias. Yeah, and that's it, I guess. Any developments on Eric's search? Well, Eric is searching in the wrong location. I mean, again, the flight path, people. Like, we know where the plane was, and it wasn't anywhere near Tina Bar. So that is not Cooper's drop zone. You can Matrix style manipulate the evidence and make it seem like Cooper could have jumped over Tina Bar, but no. And nope. Good question there. With all of Cooper's requests completed as quickly as possible, what is the earliest time we could expect the plane to be ready for takeoff? Certainly at least probably an hour earlier, really. I mean, the refueling was the problem. If you watch my video titled "Holding Seattle Hostage," yeah, the refueling was the main problem. I mean, look, Paul Sceini, 15 minutes. Paul Sceini landed. Money was brought on board, and they took off again. It was refueled in 15 minutes. So, yeah. I say Cooper was a decorated soldier. What do you say about that, Ryan? Possibly. He could have been a shitheel. Probably no. Is Dan Cooper an anagram? I don't think Cooper would be that careless. It's my thought. Okay. Cooper got the distance from the airport to the Air Force Base wrong. He said 25 minutes away. It's actually 45. Well, depends on when he did it. Here's a Mac text message. Martin McNally says, yesterday I watched the movie twice with my family. It's huge blockbuster, classic and Oscar material. Got home at 3:30 a.m. In several photos, I look really old. What should I say? Well, you are old, Mac. But I'm gonna say, well, we're all dying to see it in attendance in November with you in Vancouver. I'm so happy. Oh, well, okay, there we go. Okay. It's unclear whether he said minutes or miles. Yeah, it is unclear on that. Tina says, I'll get it backwards. Tina might say minutes, and then the cockpit seemed to think he said miles. I may have that backwards. Do you think Chris Cunningham spoke to Sceini on the phone? Is Sceini definitely still alive? Yeah, Sceini's alive. And yeah, I vetted as good as I could that was the real Paul Sceini before I cowardly let Chris. Chris has no problem cold calling people. I am not a cold caller. I am terrified of cold calling people. I just don't want to bother people. Really scared about it. I just don't do that. Chris doesn't give a damn. So I was pretty sure that it was Sceini. But I mean, I wouldn't have bothered a guy. I mean, I wouldn't have, And yeah, he's like, yeah. I mean, how many Paul Sceini's are there in Calgary? Right? Not a common name. Who is the right age too? Nah, it's Paul Sceini. But hey, if he doesn't want to be bothered by it, I don't blame him. Can't blame a guy for not wanting to be. But again, this is again the tragedy of McCoy, right? Paul Sceini is paroled within 10 years. LaPointe, Hetty, all paroled within 10 years. Heinemann's out in, I think, 85 or so. So, 13 years maybe. Yeah. So McCoy didn't need to bust out. If he could have just lasted a little longer in prison, he would have been out like everybody else. And McCoy could have come to CooperCon, right? When is Mac's movie coming out? I don't know. Next month, maybe? I think they're saying 100 theaters. It's kind of a documentary. It's going to be shown. I think the last showing they're doing is actually going to be at Kiggins at CooperCon. And then I believe the producers told me and Packer that it's going to like Amazon and like Netflix or something like that. I think it's Amazon right after that. So it'll be exciting. Wiki says Paul Sceini's alive. Yeah, I mean, well, as of last year when we talked, when Chris called him, then all right. But yeah, we have minutes and miles written in the FBI files or in the evidence. So who's to say? What if Cooper came to CooperCon? Well, he'd be an old man hacking up his lungs. But hey, I mean, we did have a Cooper suspect. Not a terrible Cooper suspect. Dr. John is not in the chat right now, I guess, but Dr. John suspect, who is not, for some reason, hasn't come on my show. Dr. John has an invite for this suspect. He should do it. But he hasn't done it yet. So someone remind me. He did do it didn't he announce the guy on the Facebook group? Am I brain farting that? I'm like hesitating saying the guy's name. But yeah. Good suspect. He also knew refueling times and where the oxygen bottles were. Yeah. Now, in oxygen bottles he may have seen possibly during this incident here. Remember, Flo gets her purse from where the oxygen bottles were stored. So, I mean, Cooper's hanging around. He could see that. And he's probably watching her. I mean, I would. Maybe she's going for a gun. I mean, Cooper was paranoid, right? So, I think he could have seen the oxygen bottles just there. Refueling times would be hard to source. Yeah. I mean, you would need to have an idea of how long that took for sure. But, Paul Sceini again went to the Calgary airport and hung around for days watching the movement of planes. So, I mean, if you watch planes, you could time how long they take to refuel. They don't take long, right? Sceini lands, the money's brought aboard, and they refuel, and they're off in 15 minutes. Bourbon and soda or bourbon and 7-Up? Which one was it? It's bourbon and 7-Up. 100%. Bourbon and 7-Up. Flo says it's bourbon and 7-Up 20 minutes after she leaves Cooper's side. Okay? Says bourbon and 7-Up. 100%. 15-degree flaps unique to 727s. Not sure on that. I do think that could be a unique flap setting. I don't know about that. I'm not totally sure on that. Cooper's military training background may have covered many types of training: aviation, mapping, mechanical, night jumping, truck driving. Well, yeah, military guys know a lot. Dana says he also knew the term interphone, didn't he? He did. He knew terms like interphone. If we believe, what Tusaw wrote, he told Alice to go back to her station, which station is a term that they use in the airline industry. Nikki would know. Nikki says, not specific to the 727, the 15-degree flaps, but not all commercial aircraft had 15-degree flaps. So yeah, it's not unique to it, but not all had. Braden was Army, right? Most think Cooper was Air Force, so that ruled him out. Well, remember, the Army was the Air Force during World War II. So guys like Hahnemann, or Captain Scott, who flew 62 missions, were technically in the Army. Their tombstone, like my grandfather was, on a bomber in World War II, and his grave will say Army, Air Force, So Cooper talked like an old pilot. Perhaps. Pick it up in the air. Things like that, perhaps. But I think somebody mentioned that the audio we could get might have, maybe we could run it through some digital shenanigans, and who knows, maybe you could pick up Cooper's voice in the background or something. I don't know. Why didn't they catch Cooper? Don't know. Probably because he kept his mouth shut, didn't have an accomplice. Is there any significance to his brand of cigarette? I remember hearing Raleigh's were not available on the West Coast. No, that's not true. I'm trying to think if I have the detail in my book on the Raleigh's. I think I do. Let me see. I always have to have my book open as a cheat sheet. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Oops. I wrote about smoking. Recovered from the ashtray of Seat 18E were 8 Raleigh filter-tip cigarettes. 7 of these were smoked by Cooper, with 1 being smoked by Tina Mucklow. If Cooper smoked 7 cigarettes over the entire 5-hour hijacking, that equates to him being a 1-pack-a-day smoker. However, there is no testimony indicating that he smoked at any point once they landed in Seattle, making it likely that all 7 of Cooper's cigarettes were smoked within the 2.5-hour window between takeoff in Portland and landing in Seattle. That amounts to Cooper being able to smoke about 2 packs a day, indicating a heavy smoker. A 1968 demographic study conducted by Brown and Williamson, Raleigh's parent company, provides some insight into the typical Raleigh smoker of the era. Among 7 major cigarette brands, Raleigh smokers on average had the lowest family income and were the least educated, with only 5% possessing a college degree. Additionally, they had the largest proportion of blue-collar workers among the other brands. As for the age of the average Raleigh smoker, 34% were between the ages of 40 and 50, which is the highest demographic age group. Finally, their strongest geographic support came from the Midwest, with 34% of their customers living in that region. So, there's that. Was Cooper a decorated soldier? I don't know. No way of knowing that until we know who he is. I mean, there's nothing to indicate he was. I do think he's maybe military, but I don't know if he's, like that. Okay. Okay. Why didn't... Big Ed. Ed, looking forward to seeing you, buddy. I got to hang out with you more in November. Ed says, I work with the E-175 Embraer, and it takes about 5 to 8 minutes to refuel for Helena to Seattle. It really depends on how much fuel they're taking on. Yeah, it does seem like they could refuel these things really fast back then. Question, do you think he picked that date as he knew the less politics would be involved in the search? Not sure. Police. I don't think so. I mean, honestly, you would expect there'd be more people on a plane the day before Thanksgiving, right? Isn't that the busiest air travel day or whatever? Maybe it wasn't back then because people didn't live so far apart back then, right? But, I don't know. Do I believe Cooper had military skills making explosives? He knew how to make a convincing-looking bomb, I'll say that. He knew how to make a convincing-looking bomb. Way more than any other hijackers of the era, for sure. How do you light his 7 cigs and not really look at him? Well, Tina admitted to seeing a side profile of Cooper, right? Tina Tina absolutely saw Cooper's side profile pretty well. I mean, she we have her saying that. They asked, could you do a side profile sketch? And she says yes. And obviously Bill Mitchell said yes as well to that. But yeah, I think she's really just seeing his side profile when she's lighting those cigarettes for Mr. Cooper there. Okay. Yeah. Okay, what are we doing? Oh yeah, here's a picture of animations of Cooper and Tina having their smokes there. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so she got a side profile look at him, for sure. Why didn't they release a side profile? I don't know, and that's annoying, because it would be nice to know how long his nose was, right? We can't tell how long his nose was, although the only indication of his nose length is Robert Gregory does say that he has a long nose. Okay. He did say that, he said that Robert Gregory says that John List's long nose reminds him of Cooper. So. Too scared to look. Yeah, honestly, that's what you're taught. If you're being robbed at gunpoint, look down. Right? Don't look at the perpetrator. Just look down. So I mean, yeah, I could see Tina not really looking at the hijacker. I wonder if I have that in my files there where Tina actually says that. Excuse me. If I have Tina saying that she didn't look at Cooper much. Yeah, this is something, I guess. We've got, sorry, folks. Here's Tina saying, what does Tina say here? She advised that during the hijacking, unsub, that'd be Cooper, did not look directly at her, nor did he sit up straight in his seat. And at all times, he was bending over. So, odd. But, I mean, we do have passengers saying he was slouching. Cooper was a sloucher. By the way, here's Paul Sceini. If you've never seen Paul Sceini, that's Paul Sceini in prison. He was a painter. And this is Paul Sceini seeing better days on a stretcher, being with blood coming out of his head after being hit by an axe. So I think they're taking his fingerprints there. But yeah. Good times, bad times. They sure put a lot on Tina. Is Lil Coop's cigarette a new addition? No, he had a cigarette at CooperCon. I already answered you, Max. I said that, yes. I said he probably learned how to do that in the military. Didn't Gregory put Cooper's age around 35? Yeah, he did. But I don't know, Gregory's old. You're forgiven. You're forgiven, Max. It's okay. Gregory was old though, so maybe everybody looked younger. Maybe he wasn't good at age. Gregory was about 70 or so. I think. Actually, I think it turns out he was younger than that. He just looked old. But yeah. Tina didn't want to identify him. I don't think so. Let's not go that route. Let's not say he. I mean, Tina wanted to help out. How can you light a cigarette without getting a good look at his face? Well, again, they're sideways. You know, she's not trying to antagonize him. And do they have any record of how Cooper got to the airport? No. They interviewed taxi drivers. They interviewed all the bus drivers. He just emerges, strolling into PDX. So no, they tried. I mean, they went to rental car agencies. They went to every rental car agency. They interviewed the garage attendants at the garage, taxi drivers, bus drivers, hot air balloon. I'm kidding. Who knows? But a russet jacket, yes. Cooper was wearing a brown suit. Big misnomer about Cooper. He was not wearing a black suit, wearing a brown suit with black stripes. Okay. His overcoat, his trench coat, I would say, was black. But underneath it was brown. Could the sketch be off somewhat? Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be off somewhat to some degree, right? I mean, no sketch is perfect. You can get close, though, right? And let's look at, we always like to look at Heinemann, right? His sketch is, same sketch artist, too. Now, granted, I will say this, Heinemann's was way more visible to everybody than Cooper was. So they got a lot better looks at him than they got at Cooper. But when you look at the two sketches, or you look at Heinemann up against here it is. If you look at Heinemann's sketch up against Heinemann, it's not bad. They got the nose a little wonky. But I always say that Heinemann's sketch looks like Michael Douglas in Falling Down. If you've never seen Falling Down, he looks just like Michael Douglas in that movie. But I mean, the same sketch artist drew that as drew the Cooper sketch. Damn good artist, right? I mean, damn good. But I mean, of course, the FBI's top sketch artist will be the best sketch artist in the world, I'm sure. But I mean, you know, we can talk about the sketches, but you know, the one on the left, they liked it. That's the only one drawn with the witnesses sitting there with the artist. So how terrible could it be if 2 days later the three witnesses who saw him the most are in agreement that, I mean, Tina Mucklow says that looks 100% like him. Now, the one on the right was released on November 30th. And if you notice something, look at it. If you notice something, it's a little wider. Okay? His face is wider. His cheekbones come out a little more. And that's a direct result of talking to Gregory, I think it was Gregory, Spreckle and Lebissoniere. They wanted his face to be a little wider. But when shown that sketch without the glasses, we've got Florence Schaffner saying that's to make his chin. Florence didn't like it. Florence said basically to make his face narrower. Okay? So when they released that sketch on the right with his eyes, it's a little wider, right? They said no. So folks, if your suspect does not have a narrow face, it's not Cooper. It just isn't. It needs to have a little bit of a narrow face. Because that is what we see with that. Okay. The eyes are a guess. Eyes did come from a book. But people, again, this is drawn 2 days later. The comp Bs are from almost a year later. let's please, for the love of God. I know some of you have suspects who don't look like Bing. But like, this is just common. We are all human beings. Everyone watching, everyone listening is a human being. Unless you're an alien like Bruce Smith. But like, everyone is a human. We know how our brains work. If I saw a guy on a plane, if I interacted with a guy at Lowe's or Home Depot, or if I had a whatever, how in the world is my memory going to be better of him 10 months later, a year later, than 2 days later? It's not. So you can say, well, the FBI said that this is the best sketch. The Comp B is the best sketch. Yeah, because they said that because they thought that the Bing sketch was, it's too complicated, but they thought the Bing sketch was tainted. They thought Flo didn't like Bing. Flo liked Bing. Flo was there when they made Bing. I mean, Jesus, like, but now granted, I mean, there's probably some things, I mean, in Comp B that, I mean, look, they have features that are similar to some degree, right? They have a broad forehead and a kind of an inverted triangle head shape. All of them do. So your Cooper suspect better have that. Okay. There's this picture here. This Skip Hall, right? Yeah, Skip Hall definitely has the triangle head. You look at him at times. But kind of a suspect with the head shape. Hell, do I have Alice Hancock's head shape that she chose out of a book? Let me find that. I mean, that dude looks like Butthead from Beavis and Butthead. But the one that Alice Hancock used is pretty fun. The head shape that she chose, because they all chose these from a book, right? And Alice's head shape is pretty funny. Where is it? Oh, come on. There it is. KA39 was this guy's name. We have KK351. KK351, yeah. This is KA39. Oh, I hijacked a plane, Beavis. Yeah, that looks like Butthead, does it not? I mean, that literally is Butthead. Hey, Beavis. Anyway, so yeah, triangle head shape for your suspects, people. Where did the left upper sketch come from? Good question. You're talking about Wavy Gravy up there. I don't have a name for him yet, but we call him the initial sketch. That guy was created by a Las Vegas sketch artist just using using the written descriptions that he had, that I guess Tina gave them or something. But yeah, that's the sketch. The one on the top left, that's the sketch that said, where we have Flo saying she was adamant that that was not a good sketch. It's that one right there. Okay. Tina herself said it's okay, but she wanted his head to be narrower. And I forget another change. But yeah, they didn't like that sketch because, again, it wasn't drawn from eyewitnesses. They weren't there helping. I believe Cooper fought on D-Day. Well, Dwayne Weber did. Yes, I know Flyjack disagrees. Love you, Flyjack. But I know he disagrees. That's okay. That's okay. We can disagree. Like men. Yes, the first sketches would be more accurate. Details months later may make you question your memory. Of course. Right? We've got, speaking of these things, we've got Tina Mucklow herself telling, where is it? We have Tina saying this about the sketches because she felt bad critiquing sketches a year later and making sketches, right? This is what she says. She admitted that because of the time lapse, this is in maybe August of 72, she is getting somewhat foggy in recalling his exact appearance and has looked at the artist's conception, that'd be Bing, So often she feels that she is influenced by this somewhat. Yeah. Bill says that. Bill Mitchell says that, like, eventually he just started seeing the sketch in his head. So, yeah. I agree. Comp A matches everything the eyewitnesses say. Thin face, kind of thin hair, thin nose, a little bit of a heavy lower lip, a pointy chin. I mean, it's got the features. How did LaPointe and Hetty get caught? Well, Hetty parked his car on the side of the road on the other side of a lake to where he jumped. And his car, the cops knew where Hetty jumped. Remember, because the cops knew where these guys jumped because of the pressure bumps. They told all the other pilots who were being hijacked, if the guy jumps, you're going to feel a popping in your ears. Let us know when that happens, and that'll let us know when the hijacker jumped. So Hetty jumps and causes a pressure bump, and they immediately scour the area. And as they're driving down the road, they see his little car there. I think maybe I'll pull it up. They see Hetty's little beat up car there. Somebody mentioned that it was somebody knew what it was. Last time we were discussing Hetty's car. Oh man, why do I never have the photograph of dangum Rob Hetty's car? I always frickin' lose the photograph on my computer of Rob Hetty's stinking car. Why do I always do that? But anyway, Hetty though. Hetty's car was found on the side of the road with a U.S. Parachute Association bumper sticker. So cops just, okay, that's probably our guy. So they staked it out, and when Hetty walked out of the woods, they got him. LaPointe, the doofus, stoner, jumped out in the daytime for one thing. His parachutes also had trackers in them. And when he jumped out, a chase plane saw him and literally flew circles around him as he was descending. He landed and broke his ankle, essentially terrible sprain, and just sat there. So yeah, that's how they were caught. Good question there, Max. Why didn't Cooper ask for updates where they were? Because I don't think it mattered. Cooper didn't ask for updates because it didn't matter. He was winging it. Any plans for a Tina Bar excursion during the conference? Yeah, we're talking to the Fazios to see if that'll happen. Granted, though, Tina Bar is not what you think it is. It's not. I mean, it's cool to go there. I'll say that. It is cool. Because it's kind of like sacred ground. So, why didn't LaPointe and Mac ask for updates? I don't think that, because they were winging it too, right? Mac was totally winging it. Mac had a idea of where he wanted to jump, but when the car crashed into his plane, it delayed him pretty terribly. Okay. Tina doesn't know what he looked like front on, so why look at her front on sketch? Flo got a front on look. Go with her view. Well, I mean, yeah, Flo liked Bing just fine. Did they have training not to look at the hijackers? It's kind of a thing they say to do in a bank robbery. Yeah, don't look at them. Look down. Don't antagonize them. I don't know if they were taught that. I know we're going to have Max, Tina, Sharon. Sharon should be at the CooperCon this year, so we will have a Tina Mucklow at CooperCon. So Nicole, if you're in the chat, hopefully if you'd like to interview her, please, we can do that. But we'll ask her. I know that she said that they were trained by like Israeli Mossad. I think they came in and gave a lecture on what to do with hijackers. So I do wonder if they were told not to look at them. Was she looking away when she grabbed the money from Cooper? I doubt it. Yeah, I know. It's weird, right? I mean, obviously, in my very, you know, in my very dramatized version of Tina and Cooper, I mean, I do have her looking directly at him. And I mean, I feel like she probably did, but maybe Cooper didn't look directly at her. Right? I mean, I have her looking at Cooper when he hands her the money, but I don't think it was that dramatic. It could have been, though. Good point, though. Both, yeah, I agree. Nikki says both can't be true. I agree. It does make you wonder. I mean, she's standing over him when he hands her the money. Maybe he's, I don't know, maybe he's doing this or something. Maybe he's doing that. But yeah, you do get the sense from Tina sometimes that it seems like she doesn't want to be bothered. Still, to this day. So maybe back then too. But she's never evasive with the FBI, I'll say that. I mean, people, Bruce at times, people might think Tina was being evasive or whatever. But no, Tina consistently helped. But it is interesting that she says she didn't really see him. I mean, yes, I agree. She's looking at him when she's closing the curtain. She's looking at Cooper. When Cooper's waving by to her, he sees her. Although maybe it's from a distance, but I mean, yeah, you think that she sees Cooper a good bit throughout the hijacking. I mean, he's passing her matches and things, and I don't know. Let's see. I'm scrolling back to see what people said there. Sorry, folks. Sorry for the dead air. Stay with me. Somebody said, Cooper will be a complete unknown. I agree. I'm with you. That is kind of an impolite way to tip, though. What, just hand somebody a packet of money? With the Tina Bar money find, 2 notes are missing. No, they're not. $6,000. Apparently all the fragments apparently that Brian was able to get indicate that it did amount to $6,000. Just that I guess 20 of the bills had disintegrated that were on the highest, I guess, the ones that were the most exposed, I suppose. But that's what the shards are. All this talk about shards, those are the shards. That's the pieces, that's the disintegrated 20 bills. Okay. The shards, the shards. But I mean, not much left of the money, right? I mean, look at that. I mean, lots of pieces of the money came off. That's a $20 bill, obviously, compared to what's left. The Cooper dollars. I mean, hey, come to CooperCon. You can take a photo with a very, very good-looking 20. Mark Meltzer has one of the best 20s there is. Got it at an auction for like $3,500 or something, which is a steal. But yeah, not much left. It's probably the best photo of the Cooper money. For sure. That might be all of them. I think it could be, because they're all smushed together. Unclear. Because you can see they've got lots of layers under them. So that's probably our best photo of the money. Okay. Cooper's not a complete unknown? Complete unknown. Like a complete unknown. I mean, he had a mom. So yeah, he's not completely unknown. He at least had a mother who birthed him. See how they're rounded. Water action? That's the thought. I mean, that's what they thought back then, at least. The hydrologist, Leonard Palmer. By the way, come to CooperCon. We're having multiple hydrologists. And a hydrologist is coming, Dr. Karen Humes, who also has a degree in soil science. So, perfect person to talk about it. But yeah, they are rounded on the edges. So, Palmer believed that it was from tumbling on the bottom of the river. Sheared off the edges that way, uniformly like that. Yeah. I mean, because are bugs, I mean, I don't know what causes, I mean, why would the money fragment with round edges? That is interesting. Okay. Who else was a skydiver like McCoy and Hetty? Just those two. Those are the only ones that were skydivers. Okay, Lord Byron's talking about him just winging it. Even if you make a calculation of the speed of the plane, you're still missing some important information like tailwinds, and so you could have only guessed where he was going to jump. Yeah, look, you are fooling yourself if you think that Cooper had an idea of where he wanted to jump. He just didn't give them enough information to arrange it that way. They could have taken V-27, which again hugs the coastline. I do think he knew where he was when he jumped. I mean, what else could it be? So if he was able to see the crew said that they could see the lights of Portland when Cooper jumped, which means that if Cooper goes to the bottom of the stairs and looks around, he's also going to see the lights of Portland probably. And he's not stupid. I mean, he's flying south for 30 minutes. What else could that be? I mean, there's only two cities of that size up there in the entire PNW, Seattle and Portland. So he knew that was Portland, surely. So see, yeah, he's saying that he could have seen the I-5 headlights. We don't know. That's just the problem. We don't know what Cooper could have seen. Because you don't really have a great vantage point. If you're a commercial airline pilot, you don't have a great vantage point of what's directly beneath you. Okay? So whether there were breaks in the clouds, we know that, I know they interviewed somebody, it's in the FBI files, that somebody in the drop zone area mentioned that around the time of the jump, he was able to look up and see stars from where he lived. So there were breaks in the clouds. So, I mean, we do have a 302 where the pilots are saying that they could see distinctive lights. But I think that probably more so than anything means light glow. Right? You can see the lights glowing through the clouds of cities. I imagine that's what they're referring to. How cold was it when Cooper and the 5 hijackers jumped? I don't. On the ground when Cooper jumped, it was 44 degrees Fahrenheit. At the altitude he jumped, at the altitude that he jumped out, it's 22 degrees. All the other guys jumped in spring and summer, so whatever. It doesn't matter, I guess, for them. Why didn't she take the money for fingerprints? Good question, because Mac's stewardesses did take his money. When Mac tipped them, they took it and handed it to the FBI for fingerprints. I know that the water thesis is out of fashion now, but the original thesis of water transport makes the most sense to me. Sure. I mean, it should make the most sense to everybody. I mean, something is found 20 feet from a river below the flood line, below where the floods go. Of course, why wouldn't it come from the river? I mean, it's illogical. The problem is, we know now that money bundles aren't going to float. They're going to sink to the bottom. If you throw a money bundle in a river, it's going to sink very quickly. So, how does the money get onto the beach if it's on the bottom of the river somewhere? And we know that the dredges that they used were not the clamshell dredges that just grab dirt and lift it up and throw it onto the river. I mean, if that was the case, then hell yeah. For sure. Like, if that was the case, then sure. If it was a clamshell dredge that just grabbed the bottom of the river, lifted it up, and dropped it on the ground. But the dredges that the Army Corps of Engineers used on the Columbia were these like suction dredges that just sucked the stuff, the mud off the riverbed, and spit it onto shore. And those had like blades that were spinning, like, you know, rotary blades or whatever. And the Corps of Engineer guys in the FBI files are like, yeah, any money would have been just annihilated going through that dredge. So didn't get there by dredge, but again, what does it matter? Tina Bar may as well have not ever happened. No, it says V-23 was the airway to Mexico City from SeaTac. I think V-23 ends in Sacramento. I'm pretty sure, because they hopped on another airway in Sacramento when they turned to go to Reno. Although maybe I don't know. Actually, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe V-23 does keep going, but I know that when they turned east toward Reno, they jumped on another airway. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I guess I don't know. I guess I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know how far V-23 goes, but that'd be interesting to find out. Yeah, Cooper did not jump. Yeah, I mean, Cooper didn't jump over the river. I mean, he's well north of the river when he jumps. Does V-23 follow I-5? Roughly from... Oh, I don't know. I mean, I know it follows I-5 at least as far as from Seattle to Portland. I'm not sure. I guess I've never tracked V-23 past Sacramento. So 813 does not mean over the Columbia, man. Not even close. Jay. No. Look. Now there are those who think that this map is off by a minute or two, but the point remains. Let's look here. Okay, they're over the river at 8:16. Okay? They're over the river at 8:16, or if it's off, even if it's off a minute, 8:15 or 8:17, one way or the other. Okay? No, Cooper's gone well before they reach the river. And the winds are blowing to the northeast, so he won't be blown into the river. So, no, Cooper does not land. Cooper jumps nowhere near the Columbia, for sure. I-5 from SeaTac to PDX is all Coop needed. Sure, but again, we just don't know. I mean, there were two airways that they could have used. If we see here, you'll see there, V-27. Okay, if you see it, you can see here on a little, you can't really see it, but there's a little, like on the right side, where it says McCord Air Force Base, that little, like, there's kind of like a faded line going south. That's V-23. Okay. So V-27 also goes south, but it goes west a little bit, right? Remember I told you that it kind of hugs the shore. So V-27 hugs the shore and V-23 goes down I-5. So they could have gone either way. Cooper did not give them enough information to have them pick one way or the other. Okay. Nikki says Victor 23 would be the option that I think almost anybody would take, according to Cliff Ammerman. So he didn't seem to believe V-27 was a viable option. I mean, I don't know. Yes, Matt Cohn's still alive, but not for long. Running out of time. So our risk-taking parajacker had a 50-50 chance of his preferred route. I mean, maybe it's not 50-50, but again, he didn't give them enough information. I mean, it would have made no difference. He could have just said follow V-23 to Sacramento or wherever the hell. Because it's not where the plane is. There's no mystery to where the plane is. It's when he jumps that's the mystery. So all the other hijackers had routes. All the other parajackers, the ones who were smart enough, knew that the plane was that they were gonna know where the plane was. So there's no harm in saying which route you want to fly, or giving them coordinates to fly. There's no harm in that. So why didn't he? What war did Heinemann fight in? World War II. Heinemann was born in 22. Eli, thank you for the super chat. Thank you, sir. He says, it couldn't be McCoy because the money would not be in that condition if it was not buried that year. All right. Money was not. It's a lot of negatives in there. It couldn't be McCoy because the money would not be in that condition if it was not buried that year. Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons it's not McCoy. That's not. I mean, that could be. I see what you're saying. They were certain. They liked the idea that it had been there for a while. I mean, it is pretty decayed. The money is torn to shit. So yeah. Had to take the shortest route. I mean, that is the quickest route. So for sure, yeah, they didn't know about the fuel consumption. So good point. But again, that's the pilots. I mean, Cooper had no way of knowing anything, right? Cooper had no way of being in on the fuel consumption. I mean, Cooper didn't know shit. Cooper thought they could make it to Mexico, the border of Mexico, without refueling. So all that stuff was over Cooper's head. That's part of the conundrum of Cooper is you think he's smart, but then he tells them not to refuel anywhere in the United States. Well, okay. Hell, folks, they had to refuel 3 times if they wanted to get to Mexico City. 3 times. They were planning on it. Reno, Yuma, and then Mazatlan, I don't know how to say it. Mexico. Was McNally a Cooper suspect? Not really, but for a minute there, he did get roughed up by the FBI in Michigan for possibly being Cooper. He said they did interrogate him for being Cooper because, Max served in Seattle. Max home base for about a year was at Whidbey Island. Okay, Seattle. His brother was living in Seattle, still lives there now, but his brother was living in Seattle at the time. McNally's spent most of his time in the Navy Air Force, flying up and down between the Canadian border and Oregon on the shore. They were patrolling for submarines from the air. So, but he did, yeah. I mean, he did say that they roughed him up. Because look, the Bing sketch does look young, and they did rough him up a little bit for being Cooper. No conundrum. Cooper knew he was going to jump before Portland. Well, but where though? I mean, again, if they had taken V-27, he's jumping. You can jump before Portland, but he's jumping 20 to 30 miles west of Portland. If they took V-27, Mazatlan. Okay, Mazatlan. Hello, mother. Hello, father. Who was more skilled, Ryan, Cooper, or McCoy in the military? Well, I don't know what Cooper did in the military. He could have been a cook. We do know McCoy, though, was a Green Beret and a chopper pilot. He was a damn good soldier, for sure. Okay. You just don't know. Mazatlan is what Colonel of Truth says. Lord Byron says that part is impossible to work out, even if you make a rough calculation. You don't know which is the two flight paths. And it wouldn't have hurt him at all to say V-23. Okay? Who was a better skyjacker, McCoy or Cooper? I mean, Cooper, I think. Well, McCoy. Actually, I'll change McCoy. McCoy for sure. I mean, McCoy, for one thing, brought his own parachutes, which ended up not using because it exploded in the plane and knocked over a stewardess. But, McCoy, though. McCoy brought his own money bag that could clip to his harness. Improvement. Brought his own parachute. Improvement. Gave them directions to fly. I mean, look, McCoy is the only copycat who landed exactly where he wanted to. I mean, Heinemann wings it outside Honduras, but like McCoy lands almost exactly where he wanted to land. So yeah, McCoy was a better skyjacker, even though he was not as calm and made himself more apparent to other people. I mean, he did stupid things. They both did dumb things, I guess. But, I mean, Cooper was never caught, though. So, you have to say that McCoy was worse. But it wasn't anything that McCoy did on the plane that got him caught, though. Okay? It was him running his mouth about it. So, if we're just looking at the plane, although McCoy did leave his prints on the plane pretty badly, despite wearing gloves during his hijacking, McCoy had a horrible moment when he should have aborted, but he didn't. McCoy flew from Salt Lake City to Denver before hijacking the plane. He bought a ticket there for Denver to L.A. And to his horror, when he boarded the plane, the Denver to LA plane, exact same plane, exact same flight crew and stewardesses. He's like, oh my God. Because he wasn't wearing his gloves on that plane, so they had his fingerprints all over the damn plane where he was sitting the first time. So, was Cooper wearing gloves? No. Cooper was not wearing gloves. OG Cooper, only one ever not caught. I rest my case. Yeah. But Ryan, I'm sick of Cooper. I just can't work out some of the stuff you did. What do you mean? What does that mean? Work out some of the stuff I did. Yeah, Donald, you're right. Donald says they knew McCoy was a skyjacker even before he began. Yep. So, I mean, yeah, I guess it's difficult, to say. But I guess Cooper did get away with it, so who was more skilled? Cooper, LaPointe, McCoy? I mean, it's McCoy or Cooper, surely. Okie doke. All right then. Well, let's see, folks. I guess it's about time for me to go. So I am going to end it there, folks. So like and subscribe and all that YouTubey stuff, guys. Anyway. Okay, doke. Oh, Kernel of Truth. Okay, well. Hang on. All right. Okay, hang on. I gotta. If you're giving me a super chat, I gotta get to it. Kernel of Truth. Thank you. Appreciate you. If Cooper knows he's going to be jumping immediately, doesn't it make sense that anything he says having to do with where to go or refuel will be misdirection? Yes. Yeah, I agree. Total misdirection. Which is weird, though, that he does reject refueling stops in San Francisco and LA. So why would he care, is what you would say. Why would he have been thoughtful about rejecting places, and why is he back and forthing about why is he having this whole discussion about refueling? Why does it not just go, yeah, sure, that's fine? Possibly. I mean, maybe in his brain, because San Fran and LA are on the coast, he doesn't want them to take maybe because V-27 hugs the coast. Maybe that was his way of keeping V-27 out, was by rejecting San Francisco and LA. So because he didn't want a route that hugged the coast. I don't know. But thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that, Colonel. When is your next video? I don't know. Probably next week. You know, I try as best I can to do a live every other week and a video every week, every other week as well. So we'll see. All right. How long to the event? November 14th. So 3 months. So, all right. And thank you, Alex, for saying I love you. I love you guys too. So I will talk to you guys again soon. Little Coop says hi as well, and he says bye. So bye. Adios, amigos.